So the picture you should have is of a person, yourself maybe, and you're at the edge when it comes to your personal finances, your personal finance capabilities, and you don't have a lot of wiggle room, all right? Now, how do you know you're at the edge when it comes to your personal finances? And I was thinking about that a lot this week as well, and I was thinking, well, if you're sitting there and you're thinking, well, how do I know if I'm at the edge? This is what I think is the best test of all. If your pastor stands up on a platform like this and kind of spells out the financial realities that the church is encountering, and then invites you to help out and to raise your level of financial commitment to the church, if that happens, if that were to happen, and you feel your stress level going up a little bit, or if you feel defensive, I think that's a pretty good indicator. I mean, you came to church this morning, right? We came to church this morning. And if a pastor were to do that and you feel your stress level going up, I think that would be a pretty good indicator that you're at the edge of your personal finances. But even when we're on the edge, we can still have a semblance or a sense that we're in control, can't we? But then what happens? Well, then some George comes into your life. Let George represent a person you know, a family member, a neighbor, a friend. And they buy something, they get something, and you feel like you're falling behind, you're losing ground. Kind of like me on that Continental Divide run. And suddenly, from somewhere, this desire wells up within you to purchase something as well. Now, I deserve it, right? Let me give you a couple of examples. Your neighbor goes out and buys a snowblower, all right? And after the umpteenth time, you're out shoveling your driveway for the umpteenth time this winter, and it happens to be one of those wet, heavy snows. And you know, you've already worked a long day at work, it's getting dark outside, you haven't had dinner yet. All you did was, you put your books or your briefcase in the house, got the shovel, started shoveling, and you started out 10 or 15 minutes before your neighbor. Your neighbor comes out, pulls out their snowblower, and they finish their complete driveway 45 minutes before you do. So you've wasted a whole extra hour. And so you slump back into the house and you're exhausted, and you explain to anyone who happens to be within earshot, this is ridiculous. I'm getting a snowblower. Or, another scenario, you visit your parents for your dad's birthday. And you're enjoying some dessert and coffee, and who shows up? Your kid brother in a brand new shiny SUV. And everyone there is oohing and eyeing about what a fine vehicle he's gone and gotten himself, like he's the picture of success. And later, when you drive home from your dad's birthday party in your 8-year-old vehicle, the newer of your two vehicles, you explain to your spouse, we deserve a new vehicle too. One last scenario, and this is true. I got my hair cut this week, and I'm at the hair cutter place, and all the ladies are talking, and they're like, so-and-so's in Cuba right now, and so-and-so just went to Mexico, and the lady cutting my hair is like, yeah, 3 of us are going to the DR later this month, or whatever. Well, imagine that's your workplace, at ATS, or wherever you work, and like the 4th person in a row has just gone and got an all-inclusive vacation out of the snow, all right? It's one of those play now, pay later vacations. And you're left back at the office picking up the slack from those who are on vacation. Anybody ever experienced that? Your coworkers go on a vacation and your workload goes up? All right? And so after the 4th person leaves for the DR or wherever it happens to be, you decide to call your Sears travel agent. Because if they can have a play now, pay later, you can have a pay now, or play now, pay later, right? Now, it's so alluring, isn't it? And it can have such a draw. The lights of the mall, or the Golden Mile, or some of you maybe go to Toronto for your shopping, to Square One. Some of you maybe go to Erie, Pennsylvania, or across the border for shopping. The signs advertising great deals, the smell of something new, right? A new article of clothing, or the interior of a new car. The prospect of getting something for a bargain, or being able to tell your friends what a deal you got. What's more, in this particular instance, it's got all the bells and whistles. It's got every option and accessory imaginable, and guess what? It's on sale. But it's only this week until Monday. Now, how can anyone possibly say no to that? So you make the purchase. But I'm telling you, it is a slippery slope. It's a slippery slope. And it isn't long until you realize that you're exceeding your financial comfort zone. You're skiing beyond your abilities. And this makes you uncomfortable. So you try to slow things down a bit. You try to gain some control over your finances. Maybe an accurate phrase would be you batten down the hatches. You know, you become like Gestapo dad or Gestapo mom, and you say, we've got to make a budget. We've got to curtail our expenses. Maybe you'll do like in the movie preview. You'll put your credit cards on ice in the freezer so that you're not tempted to use them. But then, Murphy's Law kicks in. All right? You all know what Murphy's Law is, right? If you go to Wikipedia on Murphy's Law, the first Murphy's Law is this: if something can go wrong, it will. That's the first one. And the corollary is, it'll go wrong at the most inopportune time. If something can go wrong, it will, and it'll go wrong at the most inopportune time. And what this means is that some new expense that you hadn't budgeted comes up. The fridge conks out, the car won't start, the toilet won't stop. And now you've got a major problem. It's about this time sometimes, and I've been there, you cry out and maybe even you shake your fist at God and you say, I thought we had an agreement. I thought you loved me. This wasn't in my plan. How could you let this happen to me? And then another law kicks in, not Murphy's Law, a higher law, which you can read about in God's Word in Proverbs 6, verse 9. And that law is that you reap what you sow. The person reaps what they sow. If we reap our finances too thin, it's going to come back to us. It's going to come back. And we're going to realize that we're in over our head. And our financial balloon will pop as surely as my ski popped off. And your self-esteem will take a tumble. It's like you've fallen and you can't get up again. And you wonder, how will I ever get out of this mess? And so now what? See the digression here? The downward spiral? Well, now you're left with no option but to get help or to go to jail or something. So you talk to a financial expert. You meet with a banker. You contact your creditors. You consider the possibility of a consolidation loan where you can lump all of your debts into one big debt, hopefully for a lower interest rate. And now, what was once your personal finances aren't so personal anymore. It's like you're standing there naked for some complete stranger to just examine all of your financial mismanagement. And friends, that's not a good place to be. It's not a good place to be. And the good news is that the financial expert tells you there's a way out. There is a way out. But like me going back to my ski, the way out will be a long, slow, steep, uncomfortable climb. And are you any closer to George? Whoever George is for you? No. You're further behind, aren't you? And so then the self-recrimination starts, and you think, oh man, I can't believe I wasted, my financial advisor said it's going to take me 2 years to get out of this debt. I wasted 2 years.